Okay, so now we're going to be drawing with objects. This is a really exciting opportunity because it's about problem solving as well. So once you've decided on an image that you would like to recreate through objects, then you're going to do exactly as you would if you were going to draw it or paint it. You're going to identify those key main shapes, those main big dynamic shapes that make up the frame of the image, and then it's about capturing those first. And it's also about using materials that could then become drawing tools. So it's about using whatever is near you. So in my studio I've got some drawing pins, I've got some string, I've got a nice big bunch of pencils. I've also found some rice from somewhere else. And I've got some oil pastels. I'm not going to use these to draw with to make a mark. I'm going to use their physical shape to make that mark. Now, within the resource pack, I've also given some examples of an artist you can look at. Now, this artist creates things on a large scale, and this activity is really dynamic, both on a small scale, which is what I'm showing you now, but also on a large scale. So if you're working in a group, you could take a 2 meter square piece of dark fabric and treat that as your piece of paper, and then you can use objects, materials, and you can also use each other to put into the composition. These drawings are very much about recording their presence on the paper rather than making something that is then going to live for a very long time. It's something that is only for a moment in time, so that's why it's quite nice to put yourselves within the composition as well. So this is my image here, and I've selected something that just interests me out of my big box of postcards and things that I've got to work from for inspiration and for using as a reference point sometimes as well. So your image that you're working from could be something that's relevant at school at the moment. It could be something that somebody else is working from that actually you find quite interesting. So it's whatever could be a good focus for you. So I'm going to start with those main shapes, exactly as I would if I was doing it in a drawing, but I'm going to do those with my largest tools that I've got to work with. So I'm just going to start with that lovely strong neck that's in the figure, and I'm going to use the pencils to create that shape first. And then going to use the pencils to create the head shape. Now they're not allowing me to make that lovely curve shape, so that's when So I've now found some rag that I use to clean my brushes and clean my hands in my studio, and also to move the paint around sometimes when I'm painting. So luckily I found that, and I've used that for the top of the head instead of the string because it wasn't moving around as I wanted it to. So with this, you'll need to problem solve in your group to work out what materials you want to be wearing. And again, it's about creating a marker on a surface. That's your drawing. So you're not going to get the perfect outlines that you want to get. So it's about embracing the properties of these different objects to then create the shapes that you want to create. So I've got my basic outline as I would do if I was drawing. I'm now going to start thinking about identifying some of the shapes that make up that picture. So I'm going to start thinking about some of these shapes that tell us that it's a face. So I might use my oil pastels to just start creating that outline of the head. And again, this is gonna, these drawings are very much about a moment in time. They're not about capturing the physical presence forever. They're about capturing that moment in time. So that's why you really, really, really need an iPad, or you need a camera, whatever you can get to draw with. So now I've got that outlined, I might use my string to just represent those lovely squiggles that are on top of the head. I like those marks. And they're not quite moving as I want, so I'm just going to use those to just suggest. So it doesn't have to be exact. So they're just going to suggest those lovely squiggly lines that are in the image that I'm working from. And then I'm going to use my rice. So this is it so far. And then I'm going to use my rice to add the features. But again, this is really small scale. So you could do this really, really big. And you could include yourselves as parts of the image. So it might be that actually the nose is made up of a person. And it could be your arms spread out that make the eyes. So it's about thinking about how you can use what's around you as mark makers. So I'm going to use this for my nose and for my mouth. And what's great when you're photographing these, do photograph the process as well, because it's wonderful to see the shapes coming to life out of all these objects that are usually used in a very, very different way. And I think that's what's really exciting about this activity, is that you're reinterpreting the identity of some of these really kind of everyday objects. So you could be using anything that's out of the kitchen cupboard or the art cupboard, or things like, if you're working on a really big scale, you can take whatever's around you within the space to start matching some of the shapes that are in your image. So I'm just going to keep moving that rice around, but like I said, you can do it whatever way is going to suit you with what's immediately around you. And also the brilliant thing about this is that you could easily photograph it, move it all away, and then reconstruct it and think about how it could be drawn using the same things but in a slightly different way. And it gets you thinking about the materials that are around you in a really, really different, unique way, so that, which then opens again this thing of kind of the opportunities of materials that you're using and how you see them. And sometimes you put things into different categories and boxes and they shouldn't really be there. So how you use pencils, or how you might use paints, you put it in a particular box in your mind, and sometimes if it stays there, it stops you exploring how it could work best for you. So I'm not going to include the bit under the mouth, I'm going to leave it like that. So there's the image I've worked from, and there's the image here. I'm going to take a photograph so that you can see it from a different perspective, and then I'm going to play around and rearrange it in a different way.